Stephen, a good positive response from the boys after the heartbreak of Saturday to come back with an emphatic win like that?
Yeah, first half it looked as if we had almost still felt a little bit sorry for ourselves. You know, maybe a little bit of a hangover from the weekend because it was a very tough game. You know, even last Tuesday here against Aberdeen, we spent, 65, 70 minutes with 10 men. So over the past 7 days, we've put a lot of work into football. They've spent a lot of time without the ball. They've covered a lot of ground in the game. So there was a slight concern coming into the game. So many had played on Saturday. It would have been nice to make 4, 5, 6 changes, but we couldn't. We don't have the personnel to do that. So they eventually found a way to win the game, which is the most important thing. You know, at younger level, it's not always going to be passive and non-contact. But when it's scrappy and it's bitty and there's no fluency from our side, you have to find a way to win. And I just thought that, at half time I had a little bit of a go at a few of them. I felt as if we could have done better, where they were feeling a little bit sorry for themselves. So, Adam Livingston played a little bit higher in the second half in our system, and James Scott held the ball up better. Dylan Faulkner gave his energy at the top end of the pitch. So sometimes it just takes one or two to spark everybody else off. And I think once we got the second goal, I always felt we were going to win the game. Maybe 4-1's a bit unfortunate in St Mirren because they certainly played their part in the game. But I'm delighted that after the last 7 days we've had a lot of travelling, a lot of tough games, and we finished with a win.
Yeah, you mentioned that it was a tough game because there was a kind of edge to it, a feisty nature. Even the referee came over talking to you and your St Mirren counterpart. They dealt with that well too. They didn't get caught up in it. They just played the game and tried to get on with their passing, and as you say, found a way to win. So that was a good side to the game as well. It
is. It's not coincidental for me that we've played Queen's Park and Crusaders in the last 3 weeks, where they had to deal with that kind of situation. They had to deal with the physicality of people getting about them and people trying to upset them. So it shows they're maturing as players, that they know that's coming their way and they deal with it. We want to try and pass the ball, we want to try and play. As I said to you, it's not always going to be passive. There is going to be moments in games or times in games that you have to dig in, you have to scrap, you have to stay in the game. Because I felt first half their shape probably dominated ours. They were getting out, they were getting in possession without really threatening the goal very often. But then it means then that players at the top end of the pitch have a lot of legwork to do. And they're getting caught in between and they're getting around about it. It's kind of soul destroying at times. But I felt at half time then we emphasised our shape onto them in the second half, and it was better for us. And whether it's us being a bit more aggressive and winning balls higher up the pitch, the aggression side is important. You don't always get it at 20. Sometimes it can be non-contact, sometimes it can be a little bit flat, but I think that little edge helps. Sometimes it just spurs people on, and when you're feeling a little bit fatigued, it just puts that wee bit between your teeth. So pleased from that side, but pleased then once we get control of the game and the spaces opened up, David Turnbull and Ross McLean have more space to play in, and Adam Livingston going forward on the left certainly caused problems.
Now, your primary role here is obviously bringing through the young players, but the other side of the role is to bring back players from injury. Stephen Hamill playing tonight, which must have been a benefit for the youngsters as well. We could hear him helping them along, talking to them through the game. You don't get that very often at this level either, so you must be pleased with that tonight. Yeah,
well, what we want them to do now is next week, if Stevie Hamill's not playing, we want one of them to be the voice. So Steve McManus made a great point in there that, when you have an experienced player in your team, listen to what he says and try and take it on board. Use that experience of someone to ask him questions. Even now going home in the bus, ask him questions. Why did he say that? Why did he drop deep? Why did he step on? It helps. It's all about learning. I always think it's about just trying to gather as much information to help you as you possibly can. So if Stephen Hamill's not playing next week and Jordan Armstrong's playing in Stephen Hamill's position, I would like him to be the voice. Try and think of what Stephen Hamill done for him and how he helped him and how he told people to fill gaps and drop in and push on, helped Adam Livingston, spoke to midfield players. We want them to be leaders on the pitch as well. And sometimes young players are scared to do that in case they make a mistake or in case they say the wrong thing, whereas experienced players have been over the course many, many a time. So whether it's Stephen Hamill, whether it's someone further up the pitch, whether it's someone in midfield, listen to what they're saying, try and copy what they're doing, get into good habits. Stephen's not playing at 36, 37 for no reason. He knows the game, he can read the game better. So we're trying to get them into that mindset of understanding the game. We do continual shape sessions and tactics board sessions and PowerPoint presentations to try and see them all the time, how they're moving, so they can understand why we're moving and whether, why they're filling spaces. So Stephen's great, coming in, and he just said it in there, he said, I loved it. I just loved playing and the appetite. Stephen's a coach now himself, with the under 17s as well. So he knows what it's like to have good information given to you. He enjoys the appetite of the young players.
And it wasn't just talking them through the game, he also had 2 assists. You mentioned that before we started talking on air, that he had 2 great balls into the box as well, which is something I guess the players can learn from too.
Particularly the free kick. We've tried that I think for the last season and a half, and we've never actually put it into an area where we can go and affect the game. So Sean gets a good header, but because it's a good ball, put it into an area where people have to go and defend it. So we know Stephen's got a good left foot, we know he's good on the ball. We are trying to get him match fit to get him back into the first team as soon as we possibly can. So it helps both parties. Certainly helps us because we're low in numbers today, but certainly helps him moving forward.
Yeah, only 2 substitutions, but they used Dylan Faulkner at half time and Jamie Semple get 10 minutes then, so used them pretty well, and Faulkner actually made an impact in the game despite you only having 2 subs on the bench.
Dylan has to just trust himself a little bit more. You know, I've said to him, I want him to invest a wee bit more time in himself. Go and work a little bit harder in training, work a little bit harder off the pitch in the gym, because if you don't play sometimes you've got to keep your fitness up. He's got to go and push himself a little bit more, because he's got attributes, he can affect games, he can affect people. A little bit inconsistent from him at times, so I'm disappointed that he didn't start, but he hadn't done enough to start the game. Alfie had done a little bit more in training, so I thought he deserved to start the game. So hopefully it's a little wake-up call for Dylan Faulkner that he has to go and do. He's got so many attributes. There's so much will for him at the club for him to do well. We're desperate for him to do well. I just wish he was as desperate for himself, and he will be eventually, but we got to keep pushing him, probing him, poking him, and hopefully get there. Jamie Semple played 60 minutes last night for the under-17s, and he came on today and played. He doesn't look out of place. Jamie's 16. He's got to earn his way into the side. There's good players ahead of him at the minute. He's got to be patient. He will get into the side eventually, and he will be a star.
So 3 games unbeaten in the league so far, Stephen. Plenty to build on for the rest of the season?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, it's like the first team. You want to get points on the board early on. You want to try and climb the table as early as you possibly can. I've no idea what kind of squad we'll have next week or the week after. You know, we chop and change all the time. At times there's not a lot of consistency, so sometimes you only get 1 or 2 days to work with your team. But if the first team are winning, we're happy. If the 20s are winning, I'm happy.